Alrighty, happy holidays. I got one more nugget of information for you guys before I just stop for the day. And that's going to be talking about headphones. And it's somewhat related to bass. And how it's related to bass is in your recording, efforts and whatnot. So I have three different headphones. I have the ones I'm wearing here. I have these Barry Dynamics. And then I have these in-ear monitors. There they are in view. And these are the KZ DQS dynamic driver. And I want to talk pros and cons of these different headphones because they each have pros and each have cons. And I guess like my recommendation for what you should be using for your recording efforts without having to spend a ton of money. Now, at the end of the day, right, you could go, studio monitors and be replicating like a full, soundstage in your recording area, taking into account like room dimensions, things like that, angling your monitors just right, doing the math for frequency cancellations and things like that to appropriately set up your studio area. But for the average person, that's not going to really be achievable. Number one, a lot of costs. Number two, space, right? Like, sorry, I got stuff. I can't just have like a huge open studio room where I can like perfectly calculate for all the frequencies and things like that. Second up, sound, right? Like if you have a family, people that you live with, you can't be blasting them in the middle of the night when you're working on a song. So up comes headphones and trying to figure that out. Now, the biggest problem with headphones is your like audio recreation, right? So for years, what I've done is I've mixed on either these or these, and I'll make a mix, hope it's good, and then immediately take that mix out to my car and then play it in the car. Because the way the bass is replicated in a car ends up coming through very, very differently than a set of headphones. And so I'd be kind of doing like this A-B comparison, make notes in the car, come back, make adjustments that I still felt sounded okay on headphones, and go back out and double check in the car till things were right. And sometimes, you'd be doing like 5 iterations, and it'd be very tiring, very time consuming to do something like that. So these KZ dynamic in-ear monitors have been the solution to that, but they're not perfect. So we'll get into that. So the first set of headphones I bought were these. These are the ATH Audio-Technica MX50s. So they're kind of like a mid-high level. I think there's one level, maybe like the 60s, that are a little bit higher quality than these. The sound creation is very altered, if that makes any sense. So the signal that comes to them, they have their own kind of like driver setup. And so there's definitely like a scooped mid kind of thing going on. The downside to that is sometimes when you mix stuff and then you listen to it in a different set of speakers, it will come across very differently from how you heard it while you were mixing with these. So I do not recommend mixing with these headphones, or at the very least mixing with them exclusively, because there's going to be certain speakers that people are going to play with, like let's say a Bluetooth or something, and it's going to come through way mid or something because what you're listening to has scooped mids, and so you inaccurately mixed it because your reference was altered, So when I noticed that was an issue, I was like, okay, I guess I need to make an investment. So these are the Barry Dynamic DT 770 Pros, and you can see how like dirty they are. I have used the crap out of these headphones. I use them exclusively for like, 5-6 years or something. And they definitely mitigate the mid issue. So these are trying to replicate the sound very flat. And you pay more for these than for the Audio-Technica ones. But I was still having the issue where, yes, I need to go out to the truck and check my mixes, because the low end would be all over the place, and sometimes couldn't hear anything. Sometimes it'd be way too much, and the only way to know would be to go out in the car. So these are excellent, but they are not like still the perfect solution, if that makes any sense. So then I came across these guys. These guys are crazy affordable. Absolutely wildly affordable. These things only cost $18. And these are in-ear monitors. And because they are right in your ear, the bass creation is much, much better. Now, the signal response is still pretty flat, pretty unaltered. And so I've learned that I can really trust my mixes that I make with these in-ear headphones. And when I take it out to the truck, boom, it sounds just fine from how I intended it to sound when I was mixing with these. So these are my new mixing, listening set of headphones. And I, use them when I'm playing my bass, practicing music, whatever, all the time. Now, here's the downside. I can't wear them 24/7. They start to hurt, and my ears just can't take it. I can probably last maybe like an hour in them, and then I need to take a break from these headphones. So the trade-off or whatever is then I go back to using these guys for kind of daily use. They still sound a-okay, but like I said, they are a little bit altered, if that makes any sense, because of the whole scooped mids thing. So that's kind of my, I guess, headphone solution, because the really cheap, affordable, excellent reference mixing headphones, they just cause pain. You can't wear them all day long. So you probably spend, let's say you're writing a song, and it's going to take you 10 hours. You spend 9 hours working with your song on these guys. And then for the last hour, when you're trying to complete your mix, you switch to these guys and get it all done. And that's the perfect solution. And it doesn't cost you very much. Doesn't break the bank. And you'll be super, super happy with these guys. As a side thing, you can get also kind of cheap on Amazon. This is just like a little extension for the in-ear monitors, because they're the same length as a standard set of Walkman headphones that you could have gotten 20 years ago. And nowadays, in a studio setting, I need more distance than that. And so this little extension cable right here just helps me get all the way over to my audio interface. So anyways, that's the other little nugget I have for you guys this holiday. It's a very affordable upgrade you can make for your studio. And what is amazing about it is it's going to take all those jumping back and forth, oh, I need to listen to it out of this speaker. Oh, I need to listen to it out of this speaker, and mitigate all those issues. And you can trust basically your first mix that you make is going to sound the way you intended it to for the vast majority of the audience. Now, if you're being ultra pro, you're probably still going to do some cross audio system listenings and make sure that it sounds the way you want out of different speakers. As far as I know, that's pretty much an industry standard. When you really, really care about your music, you're going to double check your sounds the way you want out of different sound systems. But anyways, so happy holidays, and enjoy.